So we have Boruto episode 173, and this was an amazing setup episode. The animators really overdid themselves with this setup episode, and I'm really hyped up for this rematch between Deppa and Boruto and Sarada. Like, this is going to be crazy. The way this episode was set up for this rematch was insane. So we finally learned about Victor's true motives, and that was to recreate a god tree, an artificially made god tree made from Hashirama cells. Like, this is insane. This is why Victor and Deppa, they tried so hard to retrieve this Hashirama cell, and Deppa went crazy for the Hashirama cells, and this is why, to recreate an artificially made god tree. We don't know the true purpose behind this god tree. What is this used for? The only thing I can think of is that it's being connected to the manga. If I'm thinking what the animators are thinking, this tree will help out Ishiki. So if you read the latest Boruto chapter, Amado did explain that you have to feed an Otsutsuki to the Ten-Tails in order to create a god tree, which will then bloom a chakra fruit, which will be harvested to be eaten by the other Otsutsuki. And since we all know that Kage was the one who betrayed on Ishiki, and Ishiki was the only one left on Earth, he was the one who did experiments on all these kids and gave karma seal to Kawaki in planning that he would feed himself to the Ten-Tails, and then he will resurrect through Kawaki's body to eat the chakra fruit later on. Now with this artificially made god tree, this changes everything. Like, I know this is anime only, so like I'm expecting this god tree to be destroyed by the time the L arc begins, so I'm not expecting anything much with the god tree. But if what I'm thinking, what the animators are thinking, maybe Victor's trying to help out Ishiki / Jigen by recreating this artificially made god tree, so Ishiki doesn't have to go through this insane process. But at the same time, even though this is what I'm thinking, if this is true, this may retcon all the experiments that Ishiki did with Amado, with all the little kids, by giving them karma seal, killing them off, killing thousands of kids. Like, this may retcon it, but I don't know. This is just my guess on what I'm thinking. This may happen, this may not happen, but I'm thinking that Victor's trying to help out Ishiki by making this artificially made god tree, so Ishiki won't have to go through the struggle of doing experiments on these kids. But at the same time, when you think about it, when he was doing experiments on these kids and Kawaki got his karma seal, Kawaki was so young. He was only like 6, 7, 8 years old. And when this is happening with the god tree, Boruto's already 12, and we know that Kawaki is already the same age as Boruto and Sarada and Mitsuki. So this doesn't really make sense if this is true. It would mess up the continuity and would retcon all those experiments done by Ishiki and Amado. So this is a possibility, and if they do go down this route, they may have to change the motive of what Victor is doing with the god tree. We don't know the true motive of why Victor has made the god tree, but it is pretty interesting considering how crazy this is. Obviously, when Konohamaru Mujino, they were going to the medical facility, they got into the medical facility when the feudal lord of the land of valleys came to meet with Victor. Both Konohamaru and Mujino, they took out one of the feudal lord's guards and pretended to be them. They used a substitution jutsu, and this is where they entered into the lab of where Victor was doing experiments. And with the feudal lord being here, it shows that Kara is really good at manipulating people. We all know that Kara is a very secretive organization. Barely anyone knows about them. They move in silence, they move very secretive to make sure no one knows who they are. And with the feudal lord from the land of valleys meeting with Victor, he was basically here to approve of this project that was being conducted by Victor with the god tree. When they go into the lab, it's completely different from what you see later on, because Victor actually put the feudal lord under a genjutsu. When I was watching the episode, I was expecting some crazy stuff with these experiments, but it just looked like, you know, people were being tested medically. Victor, he literally lies to the feudal lord, saying that the Hashirama cells will heal all the people here, it'll stop all diseases, and it was a straight up lie, because Konohamaru and Mujino, they actually break the genjutsu out of the feudal lord, and the feudal lord actually sees what the lab actually looks like, because once Konohamaru breaks the genjutsu out of the feudal lord, the entirety of the lab changes. It goes from a bright place, all the people were lined up getting Hashirama cells, and it looked like they were getting help, to a humongous testing tube with a bunch of people hanging on top. This was an entire fraud. This was a facade by Victor. He was actually trying to play the feudal lord to his advantage, and the feudal lord, before he was broken out of his genjutsu, he actually straight up said, "I approve of this project." So technically the feudal lord has approved of Victor's project, since he already said, "I approved of this project." This may play a role that the feudal lord, he allowed this to happen, and this shows you that Kara is good at manipulating people, especially someone like the feudal lord. And if Konohamaru and Mujino weren't there, this would have gone even worse. You know, Kara would have had an artificially made god tree unknown by the Leaf Village, and the entirety of the ninja world wouldn't know. So thank God Konohamaru and Mujino were there, and it was a good thing they were there, because if they weren't, this would have been bad news. And this is already bad news, because the god tree was already sprouted by the time they broke the feudal lord out of the genjutsu, and this is where Konohamaru and Mujino start to fight Victor. Mujino, he rushes Victor with the kunai and then slashes his arm off. Victor pretends to be hurt. We all know that Victor has some insane regenerative abilities, as shown in the manga, and he pretends to be hurt, and then later on he just laughs it off, because we all know that Victor has these insane regenerative abilities, like I said, as in from the manga, if you have read the manga. And this is where Victor, he uses his arm, the arm that was slashed off, to press a certain button which released the god tree, which started to grow. And this is where he sends a bunch of people that were tested by the Hashirama cells to attack Konohamaru and Mujino, and the god tree starts to sprout. It's really big. It's humongous. I did not expect the god tree to be so goddamn big. Like, it's crazy. This is where Victor and his assistant go up. She's also an outer member of Kara, and she's cute as fuck. And we see the doctor from the Mitsuki arc, who was present. He also gets taken by the god tree, because if you don't know already, in order to grow, it absorbs chakra from nearby people. It takes nearby people, takes them in, and absorbs their chakra, killing the people. The doctor has died because the tree has taken on the doctor, absorbs its chakra, and the doctor is basically dead. We cut to a scene where we see Mitsuki, Orochimaru, and Log. And Mitsuki, he wants to come to the Land of Valleys to help out Boruto and Sarada, because Stoigetsu had got some intel and told him that. And Mitsuki, he wanted to leave, but he couldn't, because obviously he used Sage Mode in the last battle with Dappa in episode 166, and Orochimaru straight up said, like, you could have died. It was so dangerous that you used Sage Mode. Mitsuki, he wanted to go, but he really couldn't. Orochimaru does say some grave news. He does say that even though you're alive, and even though you use Sage Mode, even though you use this power to save Boruto and Sarada from Dappa, you're gonna be out of commission for a very long time. Orochimaru straight up says, your organs are being remade right now, and it's going to be a month before you even get back into action. So you won't be able to move for a very long time. That is insane. Like, I feel bad for my boy Mitsuki, because I love Mitsuki. He's one of my favorite characters, and you know, he can't come back. He can't participate in this fight. So Mitsuki is out of the option with this rematch between Dappa, Boruto, and Sarada. So obviously, if you've read the spoilers, there's some spoilers that were dropped by Organic Dinosaur. It says in one of the spoilers, if someone is going to join Konohamaru to help fight Victor, that is going to be in the next couple of episodes, and it may be Log. I think it's going to be Log or Omui. Omui was also in the Kara Actuation Arc, and he was fighting Dappa, who he got bodied by. Omui or Log, those are two people who I think will join Konohamaru to fight Victor, and we're gonna get this rematch between Boruto, Sarada, and Dappa, which I don't think they're gonna win, because when they were heading to the medical facility after giving the ring to Mrs. Anato, they were like, oh, we've trained so hard. It's like, bro, you trained for like 3 days. What are you gonna do against an inner member of Kara? They're not gonna win. I don't think they're gonna win. That wouldn't make sense, because, you know, in the Owl fight, if you have read the manga, you know that in the Owl fight, Team 7 was pushed to their absolute limits. Boruto had no chakra after fighting Owl, and Owl's only an outer member of Kara. It wouldn't make sense for them to beat Dappa, who's an inner member of Kara, considering that the very next arc, the Owl arc, in the Owl fight, Boruto and Team 7, they were pushed to their absolute limits, and they barely beat Owl, who's only an outer member of Kara. So if they do beat Dappa, it wouldn't make sense. It would kind of mess up the continuity, and it would retcon the fight with Owl. So it would be really weird if they do beat Dappa, but you know, they may get a lucky hit off. Someone may show up, but I'm expecting that Dappa is gonna body them. If you have read the spoilers, you know that Dappa, he is going to body Boruto and Sarada. I can't wait for them to get an ass whooping, because they think, oh, we trained so hard. It's like, no, you trained for like 3 days. What are you gonna do against an inner member of Kara? Sasuke literally straight up said they're Otsutsuki level threats. What are you gonna do against them? I do think that Dappa, he will get killed off by somebody, and I think it's gonna be someone from Kara. I think some fire is gonna come. If you know, you know, but like, I can't wait for these couple of episodes. This episode was really good. Everything, the setup was pretty damn good. It got me hyped. The god tree is crazy, and also with the god tree, Victor is planning to feed his employees to the god tree in order to make it grow. Like I said, in order to grow the god tree, you need to feed people to the god tree, where the god tree will take the chakra from the people, therefore killing them. And Victor literally has a room full of hundreds of employees, and then at the end of the episode, we see the god tree break through the room. So obviously the god tree is going to take in all of those people in order to grow. Like, this is Victor's plan. This is crazy. So let me know what you think about this episode. If I could rate this out of 10, I would give it 8 out of 10. This is a pretty good setup episode. Couldn't ask any more for this episode, and I can't wait for the next 2. So let me know what you think. So if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell as well, and have a good day. Peace.